interesting thing to do as an antenatal teacher, because there is so much focus on labour and birth, and I think one of the things that I see with parents is they do very much focus on that. And the postnatal almost seems a little bit abstract, and I'll get to that when I get there. And I had this discussion very recently with some new parents, and that's what they said, that they couldn't, during the antenatal period, during antenatal classes, they couldn't quite get their head around the postnatal stuff. And also there's lots of information to take in about labour and birth, so there's also an element of information overload as well. There's only so much you can take in. So I'm very conscious when I'm teaching the postnatal session and teaching about postnatal stuff, is that I'm giving really practical things that, so for example, writing a postnatal plan, that they can do tangible things so it becomes less abstract, to prepare ahead of time.
Great. I was agreeing 100% with that. It's just sums it up beautifully. Yeah. And it's almost like they read the book to a certain page and then think after we'll deal with, that's how I do it. I think it's normal of human brains functions, we think we'll deal with it after, but it is so linked. I think how the feeding goes is so linked to the birth, but for whatever reason our society doesn't really equate the two. It's all very separate and different, but that can impinge so much on how feeding gets going. And often because you see different health professionals throughout, you sort of segment it yourself quite naturally, that I'll deal with that this period, and then so to have a sort of knitted team whereby you can, because it's layers, isn't it? It's layers, and then problems can arise, and it's cumulative. It's never just this or just that in certain boxes.
You're so right about the interlinking, because labour and birth affects how people feel postnatally, physically, emotionally, which is then going to impact how they feel about feeding, and depending what information they had about all of these things antenatally, to then be able to navigate that and support themselves, or get the support that they need and navigate challenges, and it's all interconnected.
And I think both of you have just touched on that sort of Western culture that we're trying to get people to move away from. That I always say to people that labour and birth and everything to do with midwifery is not a science, it's not exact, it's an art. So everybody's going to be really different. And when people come into my classes, when I'm looking after them in labour, I always joke about the fact that you might find me annoying because you're not going to get a straight answer from me. Because, people want to know how long the labour is going to take, and what's going to happen exactly, is it going to hurt? And I give them an example of when they're timing contractions, and say, I know people say time contractions, but actually what we want to know really is whether they're regular and there's a consistency. So you could be on your app and they could be every 2 minutes, but if you're still able to go and do your shopping in Tesco's and they're lasting 30 seconds, then you're probably not in established labour, you can stay at home for a bit longer. So it's not about the timing, it's what they're doing. So we're trying to get people away from that exact thing, the contractions are coming every 3 minutes and they have been for 2 hours, we need to call the midwife or we need to go into the hospital. And I think that's what makes us unique, is that we are trying to get people to be a little bit more in touch with their bodies and how nature actually works. So that's
straight. Because it's empowering to use those instincts, but because we rely, because in the Western industrialised society where we're in control, we're used to be out whatever to tell us what to do. To feed your baby every 2-3 hours, same size meal, as if that would be the norm. Even though as adult humans we don't do that. We think,
we might feel hungry.
Because I suppose when you're learning the skill and you feel vulnerable, so it's instinctive to grab onto these things when you're still grappling with these new instincts as a parent. So I also get that. Well, it depends, and it does sound, because parents sometimes just say, just tell me what it's going to be like, tell me, and you want to give them that, but you know equally that it's not helpful, because it can be so different. Each baby's different, each parent's different, so it does depend, but it does, I do get a few.
And working
just tell me. That's a straight answer.
I can't have a midwife, we're programmed that way.
And nature's not straight, and nature
No. I the most important part is that the parents will sort of leave the course understanding that they're not going to know the answer to all these questions, but it's going to be okay because they'll understand how their body works and they'll trust their bodies. So it doesn't really matter, you know, all the questions that they might have come in with, like how long is it going to take and how often is the baby going to feed and is the baby going to cry all night, you know, because they'll have more information about how their body works. And actually what they should be doing is, like you were saying about snapping back into their pre-pregnancy body, they shouldn't be trying to snap back into anything, they should be evolving, you know. Yeah.
It's surrendering to it.
No, you can never go back.
Also, Lola, are you avoid about not getting specific answers, because it isn't about specific answers, because you can't, but helping people to be able to feel like they can access the support or ask the questions that they need to get the information for whatever is going on, whether that be labour.
Completely. Yeah.
There'll be red flags, I guess, where they think, okay, from what I've learned, this may be something I need to do, and I know where to go for information to clarify this. It's okay, that's different from saying, here's all the things that can go wrong. We're just going to have to see which one is going to go wrong for you. It's them being able to sense if something isn't quite right from their gut instincts. Even if other people are saying differently, it's then finding out where to go for the best advice.